In a post-apocalyptic world where traffic remains unchanged, the bridge connecting the communication between communities collapsed. Rick rallied the 5 major communities to set up camp near the bridge. It's been 35 days since the bridge repair began, a testament to the unity of everyone involved. Things seem to be back on track. Much to Rick's satisfaction, Rick chose not to kill Negan because he wanted to establish an order like this. People shouldn't be suspicious and kill each other, but instead, unite, cooperate, and care for one another, just like they were doing now. This was the future Carl wanted to see. Rick firmly believed that no matter how difficult, this bridge was the path to the future. When future generations pass by, they may remember the efforts of their fathers. After a month of construction, as agreed, Salvation Hall provided the majority of the manpower. Eugene was the chief designer of the bridge, and according to his projections, it would be completed in another 8 or 9 days, perhaps even sooner if they pushed harder. And then Rosita came back to report. She was responsible for using explosives to clear a blocked road and had encountered a zombie horde of over 100 nearby. Rosita asked Rick whether they should delay the operation. Rick thought there was no need to wait since they had designated people on horn duty who would lead the zombies away if they approached. Rosita received her orders and left. Eugene informed Rick that 6 members of the Saviors had left since the bridge repair began, presumably unable to withstand the hardships. Rick sighed in resignation, planning to talk to Carol, the interim leader, about this. In addition, to prevent injuries during the construction, the only doctor, Siddiq, was present. Enid had become Siddiq's student and was now capable of handling things on her own. Rick was pleased to see Enid's progress. Rick approached Siddiq with the intention of sending him back to Alexandria's safe zone, as there was a flu outbreak there. Enid was apprehensive about Siddiq leaving, not yet ready to face things alone, but with the encouragement of the others, Enid's confidence is strengthened. At this moment, construction on the bridge was in full swing. The results of over 30 days of effort were nearing success, and everyone was working diligently. Even young Henry had taken an active role, responsible for delivering water to the workers. However, fresh water was scarce, and each person could only have a cup. But this Savior's man wants more, despite the rules. Naturally, Henry couldn't agree to this. Justin, from the Saviors, pushed Henry to the ground and took a swig from the water bottle without any consideration for the others who needed water. Henry swiftly employed the moves that Morgan had taught him and managed to knock Justin down. The other members of the Saviors mocked Justin for being taken down by a kid, which only fueled Justin's humiliation. This causes Justin to lose face and walks up to Henry to teach him a lesson, but Daryl pulls him back. Daryl tells Justin that everyone is doing their job. Justin gets even angrier and screams at Daryl to mind his own business. Justin was not going to let it go after being embarrassed in front of so many people. A scuffle broke out between Justin and Daryl, and Aaron was forced to join in. The people around us don't try to stop them from fighting. They all gather around to join in the fun. Luckily, Rick was able to get in between them and stop the fight. Once they had calmed down a bit, Rick didn't blame anyone but urged them to get back to work. And gradually, the crowd dispersed. Back inside the tents, Daryl was visibly discontent. He couldn't understand why they had let that jerk go so easily. He also had a great deal of trouble understanding why Rick had to force these people together. It's just the way they are. Even Carol shared Daryl's perspective. However, Rick insisted that they just needed to endure a little longer. The bridge was almost finished. He aimed to establish an era of unity and harmony, where everyone could stride towards the future together. In Daryl's eyes, Rick seemed lost in his fantasies about the future and was deaf to others' opinions, convinced he was always right. At lunchtime, everyone sat around the canteen. The incident was never brought up again and seemed to be just one of life's little hiccups. And Gabriel had an unexpected bonus. Jadis had joined Alexandria's safe zone some time ago and, initially ostracized, she found solace in Gabriel's guidance. Their relationship had grown stronger over time, and Jadis had become more cheerful. She boldly took Gabriel's hand, her gaze unflinching, leaving Gabriel momentarily unsure how to react. In the evening, Rosita was preparing explosives to clear the blocked road. Her partner for this task was Arat, a member of the Saviors, and the same person who had scarred Rosita's face. The explosion echoed through the sky, and nearby zombie hordes turned their attention toward the community's location. However, this was all part of Rick's plan. He had already set up reconnaissance personnel. Today, Tara was on duty. Tara quickly noticed zombies approaching from a distance and relayed the message back to Rick. Rick remained unsurprised and instructed Tara to follow the plan. Tara then sends a message to Jerry. Bagpiper 1, to play the bagpipes to attract the zombies. The effect was immediate as the zombies started heading towards the direction of the lumberyard. Once the zombies got there, Bagpiper 2 played his bagpipes and the zombies passed. While Rick is in command, Alden approached and informed him that 6 members of the Saviors had escaped since the bridge repair began. After investigating, Alden found that none of them had returned to Salvation Hall. Rick was surprised that none of them had returned. Alden also wondered, because a few of the Saviors still have family members in Salvation Hall. They cannot just leave. Must be something happened. Moreover, those members didn't have any guns with them. While they were confused, Tara is frantically calling Point 2 on the walkie-talkie, but the bagpipes never sound. If they didn't divert the zombie horde soon, it would directly attack the lumberyard. Rick realized the urgency of the situation, especially since they were still collecting wood in that area. While they're working, the horse next to them gets restless. Daryl, who is experienced in wilderness survival, realized something was wrong and looked around. Sure enough, 2 zombies came up to him, and it was just a matter of Daryl picking up a stick on the ground and taking care of them. Although initially a minor concern, Daryl easily dispatched them with a wooden stick he found on the ground. However, he then noticed an entire horde of zombies closing in. Daryl swiftly warned the others to retreat, their attention drawn by his urgency. Looking at the densely packed zombies, the members of the Saviors standing on top of the tree pile began to panic and immediately dropped the rope in their hands and began to run for their lives. Aaron pulled a teammate away, but a tree trunk knocked him down. Seeing his close friend injured, Daryl immediately called the others back to help. Only then did they realize the folly of their actions and work together to prepare to remove the trunk. However, it was too heavy to lift at the moment. The zombies were closing in on Aaron, who didn't want to endanger his companions. He urged them to leave and not sacrifice themselves here. Yet, Daryl couldn't abandon a teammate. He instructed the other 2 to keep trying to lift the tree trunk. Drawing his short knife, Daryl charged forward to kill the approaching zombies, buying them time. Finally, using leverage, Aaron was able to get his arm out. However, it was horrifyingly clear that Aaron's arm had been crushed, and he had nearly lost all feeling in it. Daryl quickly supported Aaron as they retreated. With the zombies hot on their heels, Rick and his group arrived at the scene. Rick realized something was wrong when the second bagpipe didn't sound, and rushed here with his team. The sheer number of zombies was overwhelming. Rick observed the terrain and took out the shotgun behind his back and hit the rope binding the tree trunks. The wood rolled down and smashed the zombies to pieces. They quickly transported Aaron to the infirmary. Siddiq had already returned to Alexandria's safe zone, leaving Enid to handle this situation alone. It was the first time she had ever been faced with such a critical situation, and looking at Aaron's arm, it was clear that drastic measures needed to be taken. Enid immediately decides to amputate the limb, then cauterizes the wound with a flamethrower and stops the bleeding. Otherwise, Aaron will lose his life. Aaron and Daryl can't believe it when they hear about the amputation, but there's nothing else to do. The most important thing is to stay alive. Daryl strangles Aaron's big arm with a rope. With no anesthesia available, Aaron gritted his teeth and endured the excruciating pain. After treating Aaron's injuries, Daryl left the tent in a huff. Daryl went to Carol's tent and asked who bagpiper number 2 was. Instead of answering, Carol looked towards the door. "It's this guy." Seeing Daryl's furious gaze, Justin hastily explained that the radio had run out of batteries. Daryl wasn't about to let Justin off the hook easily. He pinned Justin down and delivered a fierce beating. Finally, Carol pulled Daryl back. Daryl turned his head and saw Henry coming around, so he didn't continue. At night, Rick wanted to check on Aaron, but he ran into Justin. Justin said sarcastically to Rick, "You should control your dog. That animal almost killed me." Rick had been holding back for the greater good, and these people had probably forgotten what he was capable of. Rick came up to Justin and said, "I know your type. I used to catch them all the time when I was a cop. Always blaming others for your mistakes. I had hope for you before, but I don't anymore. Pack your bags and get the hell out of here in the morning. If I see you again, I'll let you meet your dead companion." Justin was a little scared of Rick, so he didn't say anything harsh. He just told Rick, "I won't stay even if you beg me to, and I'm leaving right now, and I don't want to stay a moment longer." Not far away, 2 figures sat close together, Jadis and Gabriel. They had begun a romantic relationship. Rick went to visit Aaron, and as he stepped out of the tent, he heard the sounds of laughter and joy from the community. In that moment, he couldn't help but feel a sense of contentment. Wasn't that the whole point of trying to keep order? People were sitting around eating food and laughing. It didn't matter what neighborhood they were from. Carol wore Ezekiel's engagement ring, and the 2 embraced happily. These were the things Rick had hoped for. Upon returning to Alexandria's safe zone, Rick visited Negan in the cell, recounting the recent events. Rick wanted Negan to understand that the world would prosper without him. Although there is some conflict during the day, it doesn't stop the group from bonding together. After over a year of captivity, Negan's beard was unkempt, and he appeared dispirited. He scoffed at Rick's words, suggesting that gathering around a bonfire didn't constitute unity. Negan believed that it would all crumble eventually and viewed the bridge as a monument to the departed, not a path to the future. In the late hours, someone was on duty atop the watchtower. Jadis was in a good mood over her romantic love, fiddling with something in her hand. Suddenly, she heard a noise and looked up to see a light in the sky, a helicopter. The mysterious organization had appeared again. Jadi's thoughts from a year ago resurfaced. Off in the distance, on a path, Justin left the campsite, drinking as he walked. At this moment, Justin seemed to have noticed something as he approached and took a closer look.
You damn near got yourself killed. What the hell are you...